guys, my name is Sammie Gallo and I am Anglicans for Life's youth coordinator, and I am excited that you're here with us tuning in today. Abortion is a constitutional right. Life in the womb is a constitutional right. You've probably heard both, but somehow the U.S. holds wildly different beliefs among its citizens. Either a woman's right trumps a baby's right, or a baby's rights trump a woman's rights. Both pro-life and pro-choice sides tend to agree that the Constitution should have the final say, but since it doesn't explicitly mention abortion, different interpretations of the Constitution are the basis of all previous abortion rulings. So the question today for us is, what is the bottom line? Is abortion a constitutional right? Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court case that legalized abortion nationwide, has been ruled on and reinforced through Casey versus Planned Parenthood and overruled through Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health. The rulings came from the same Supreme Court with the same goal to uphold the Constitution. The only difference was who was seated on the court at that time. And because abortion is not mentioned, bias informs some of those Supreme Court decisions. Some abortion rulings involved more reading between the lines than they acknowledged. And by looking deeper at every case, we're able to see how bias influenced decision making. While we don't have time today to uncover each case that has ruled on abortion, I do want to cover why the abortion right is critically different from any other right that this court has ruled on that falls within the 14th Amendment's protection of liberty. Roe's defenders characterized the abortion right as similar to the rights recognized in past decisions involving matters like intimate sexual relations, contraception, and marriage. But abortion is fundamentally different because it destroys what those decisions called fetal life and what the highest court in America now describes as an unborn human being. While it may seem unlikely, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the pioneering advocate for women's rights who died in September 2020 at age 87, was actually a frequent critic of Roe versus Wade, especially its framing and the speed in which it was pushed through the court. Ginsburg was in essence disagreeing with Roe's base argument that the right to abortion was based on the privacy of a woman with her doctor and not a violation of equal protection as guaranteed by the Constitution. In a much quoted lecture she gave at New York University in 1992, Ginsburg noted how Roe was an example of how doctrinal limbs too swiftly shaped may prove unstable. In June of 2020, her thoughts were proven correct. Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization historically overruled Roe versus Wade, and America seemed to be in an uproar. What Dobbs ultimately decided was that abortion is far from a constitutional right. With the Dobbs ruling, the Supreme Court ruled solely on what is written in the Constitution instead of what is loosely implied, including the right to life. The country is now closer to the Constitution's intent than ever before. By protecting men and women's safety both in and out of the womb, we are returning to our country's equality-granting, fundamental, life-affirming roots. On page 5 of the Dobbs decision, this is what it says. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely, the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. In many ways, the anger that surrounded the Dobbs decision from the pro-choice side came from believing that a constitutional right was being taken away. But as we look more closely at what the Constitution actually says, and ultimately what we have valued as Americans from the beginning, we can see that that just isn't a valid argument. Supreme Court Justice Alito has said it perfectly before. On the question of abortion, the Constitution is therefore neither pro-life nor pro-choice. The Constitution is neutral and leaves the issue for their people and the elected representatives to resolve through the democratic process in the states or Congress. Like the numerous other difficult questions of American social and economic policy that the Constitution does not address. So for us, the important thing to remember is the ultimate goal. Ultimately, the goal is not to merely return the decision concerning abortion to the states to decide, as Dobbs did, but to ban abortion and to treat preborn children as equal members of the human family, not property to be killed at will. There is still work to be done, and we invite you to join us in the effort to make abortion unthinkable in the United States.